And the big thing I learned on Star Trek V for me was, where do you compromise and where do you stand on principle? Where do you say, no, that's not going to work. I want it this way.
For decades, William Shatner has been synonymous with Captain James T. Kirk, the bold, fearless leader of the USS Enterprise. From the silver screen to the hearts of millions, his portrayal of Kirk made him a household name. But behind the fame and space battles lies a life filled with triumphs, tragedies, and untold stories. Now, at 92, William Shatner opens up about his journey, his struggles, and the truth he's never shared before. William Shatner's marriages and personal tragedies, a life marked by triumphs and heartbreak. William Shatner's life, while marked by his iconic role as Captain James T. Kirk of the USS Enterprise in Star Trek, has been equally defined by the complexities of his personal relationships. His journey through the world of marriage, loss, and recovery provides a deeply human contrast to the bold, heroic character he portrayed on screen. Over the years, Shatner has experienced the highs and lows of love, with each of his marriages revealing both the promise of happiness and the burden of personal tragedy. This narrative delves into his 4 marriages, each telling a unique story of love, struggle, loss, and ultimately, resilience. First marriage to Gloria Rand, a family built, a marriage torn. Shatner's first marriage to Canadian actress Gloria Rand, née Rabinowitz, came at a time when his career was just beginning to take off. The two tied the knot on August 12, 1956, a date that marked the beginning of a shared life filled with promise. Together, they welcomed 3 daughters into the world: Leslie in 1958, Elizabeth in 1961, and Melanie in 1964. These children were a source of joy for Shatner, who cherished his family. However, the success and demands of his rapidly growing acting career, particularly his starring role in Star Trek, the original series, began to take a toll on their marriage. The long hours, the constant traveling, and the increasing fame left Shatner with little time to nurture the bond with his wife. Despite their best efforts to hold the family together, the strain ultimately became too great. After over a decade of marriage, Shatner and Rand reached an impasse, and in March 1969, their union came to an end. The divorce marked a painful chapter in Shatner's life and a turning point in his personal journey. It was during this difficult period that Shatner faced the weight of both professional success and personal failure, a theme that would continue to emerge throughout his future relationships. Second marriage to Marcy Lafferty, a long yet childless union. In 1973, Shatner married Marcy Lafferty, the daughter of renowned television producer Perry Lafferty. This second marriage, unlike his first, would last for over 2 decades, from 1973 to 1996, making it his longest-lasting union. However, despite the longevity of their relationship, Shatner and Lafferty did not have children together. The absence of children may have played a role in the complexities of the marriage. For Shatner, his career and personal life were often at odds, and the lack of children to bond over may have contributed to a growing sense of emotional distance between the two. As the years passed, the strain of their relationship became apparent. The dynamics of their union were marred by a sense of unfulfilled desires and unmet expectations. In the end, the marriage unraveled, and Shatner and Lafferty separated. This second divorce, though less publicly traumatic than the first, nonetheless marked the end of another significant chapter in Shatner's personal life. Third marriage to Noreen Kidd. Tragedy strikes. Shatner's third marriage was to Noreen Kidd in 1997, a union that began with promise but was soon overshadowed by tragedy. Kidd, a former model, was a deeply troubled woman who struggled with alcoholism, a disease that would ultimately lead to her tragic death. The early days of their marriage were filled with optimism, but as time passed, Shatner began to realize that his wife was battling a powerful addiction. The reality of her alcoholism was a difficult pill for Shatner to swallow, especially given his own professional obligations and the public image he had cultivated. The turning point came on August 9, 1999, when Shatner returned home after a long day to a scene that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He found his wife, Noreen, lying lifeless at the bottom of their backyard swimming pool. At just 40 years old, she had passed away, leaving Shatner devastated and inconsolable. The Los Angeles County Coroner's report revealed that her death was caused by accidental drowning, with alcohol and diazepam, an anti-anxiety medication, found in her system. The tragic nature of her death, coupled with the circumstances surrounding it, left Shatner in a state of shock and grief. In the days following her death, Shatner spoke publicly about Noreen's struggles with alcoholism. He explained how the disease had plagued her for years and how they had both attempted to confront it together. Shatner's efforts to save his wife, however, were ultimately in vain, and he used his platform to raise awareness about the dangers of alcoholism. He also urged the public to support organizations like Friendly House, a non-profit dedicated to helping women recover from addiction. In his 2008 autobiography, Up Till Now, Shatner reflected on the tragic events surrounding Noreen's death, revealing how his dear friend and Star Trek co-star Leonard Nimoy had played a pivotal role in attempting to intervene in the couple's troubled marriage. Nimoy, who had struggled with alcoholism himself, recognized the signs of addiction in Noreen and tried to warn Shatner about the looming danger. Despite these efforts, Shatner's love for Noreen blinded him to the severity of her condition, and he hoped that love alone would be enough to pull her through. However, as her addiction deepened, it became clear that Noreen was not willing to break free from the grip of alcoholism. Despite several stints in rehab and support from those around her, including Leonard Nimoy, who took her to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, Noreen's condition worsened. Shatner, grappling with a sense of helplessness, was left to mourn a woman who had been his soulmate, yet ultimately succumbed to the very affliction she had fought so hard to overcome. Fourth marriage to Elizabeth Anderson. Martin, a brief respite from grief. In 2001, Shatner married Elizabeth Anderson Martin, a union that seemed to offer a fresh start after the pain of losing Noreen. Their relationship was characterized by both professional and personal collaboration, with Martin co-writing the song Together on Shatner's 2004 album Has Been. However, the shadows of Shatner's past were never far behind, and the emotional toll of his previous marriages began to take its toll on this relationship as well. The pressures of public life, combined with the lingering grief over Noreen's death, placed a strain on Shatner's marriage to Martin. In 2019, after nearly 2 decades together, Shatner filed for divorce from Elizabeth. The proceedings were finalized in January 2020, marking the end of his 4th marriage. Once again, Shatner found himself navigating the painful waters of divorce, reflecting the personal challenges that mirrored his tumultuous career. Friendship with Leonard Nimoy, a bond that endured. Beyond the screen, beyond his marriages, Shatner's most enduring and complex relationship was with Leonard Nimoy, the actor who portrayed Spock alongside Shatner's Kirk. The two first met in 1964 on the set of The Man from UNtold, but it was their work together on Star Trek that solidified their deep friendship. Despite their characters' professional rivalry on screen, Shatner and Nimoy forged a bond that extended far beyond the show. They were often seen together off-screen, collaborating on various projects and sharing moments of personal growth and support. However, the complexity of their relationship took a painful turn in 2016, when Shatner revealed that he and Nimoy had not spoken to each other in the final 5 years before Nimoy's death. This revelation was a deeply emotional one for Shatner, as their friendship had been a central part of his life for decades. He acknowledged that despite the deep affection and admiration they had for one another, their relationship had suffered due to misunderstandings and growing distance. Nimoy himself had spoken about their rivalry, describing it as a sibling-like competition that had ultimately strengthened their bond. Yet, the silence between them in their final years cast a shadow over their once vibrant camaraderie. Shatner's grief over Nimoy's death in 2015 was profound. Although he was unable to attend Nimoy's funeral due to prior commitments, Shatner paid tribute to his friend through an online memorial, sharing heartfelt memories and expressions of love. The loss of Nimoy was a blow to Shatner, who described him as a brother figure in his life. Comfort in friendship with Heather Locklear, a constant source of support. Amidst the grief and personal turmoil, Shatner found solace in the friendship of actress Heather Locklear. The two had met in 1982 when they co-starred on the TV series T.J. Hooker, and their friendship grew over the years. Locklear was a constant source of comfort and support, particularly following the tragic loss of Shatner's third wife, Noreen. Locklear's presence in his life provided a measure of stability during some of his darkest days. Their friendship extended beyond T.J. Hooker, and in 2005, they reunited on Boston Legal, where Locklear portrayed Kelly Nolan. Their light-hearted interactions and on-screen chemistry hinted at the deep mutual respect and affection they shared off-screen as well. Locklear's friendship and Shatner's ability to find humor and companionship in their work together highlighted the resilience that Shatner had cultivated over the years, despite the personal tragedies that had so deeply affected his life. The complex relationships behind the scenes of Star Trek. The iconic Star Trek series is celebrated for its portrayal of a utopian future, where diverse species and individuals unite for the greater good of exploration and progress. On screen, the camaraderie between Captain Kirk and his crew members, Spock, McCoy, Sulu, Uhura, and Chekhov, was depicted as the epitome of teamwork, respect, and mutual understanding. Yet, the reality behind the scenes was often far from harmonious. The legendary chemistry seen on screen between these characters was occasionally marred by strained relationships, particularly with William Shatner, the actor behind the bold Captain Kirk. Shatner's on-screen presence was larger than life, but off-camera, he was often described as difficult to work with. His larger-than-life personality and fierce commitment to his craft sometimes led to tensions with his fellow cast members, most notably George Takei, Walter Koenig, and James Doohan. While these actors were deeply committed to the success of Star Trek, their personal experiences with Shatner revealed a complex web of frustration, rivalry, and, at times, resentment. George Takei, a decades-long grudge. Among the most vocal critics of Shatner was George Takei, who portrayed the beloved Lieutenant Sulu. Takei's relationship with Shatner was fraught with tension, which he has openly discussed in interviews, memoirs, and documentaries over the years. In his 2004 memoir, To the Stars, Takei described Shatner as self-absorbed and egotistical, suggesting that Shatner's sense of importance often led him to overshadow his co-stars. Takei's grievances were not limited to personal interactions, but extended to what he perceived as Shatner's sense of entitlement and disregard for the feelings of those around him. Takei's bitterness toward Shatner only deepened in the years following Star Trek's original run. Even in 2023, during an interview in London, Takei did not shy away from his animosity, referring to Shatner as a cantankerous old fossil, and underscoring the lingering issues that had never been fully resolved. Takei claimed that the widely believed notion of a close friendship between Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, who portrayed the stoic Spock, was a fabrication, pointing out that Nimoy himself privately expressed irritation with Shatner's behavior. Shatner, in Takei's account, even branded Nimoy as an egocentric, self-involved prima donna. While Takei's ongoing resentment is well documented, it was not universally shared by all Star Trek cast members. Walter Koenig's perspective, for instance, evolved over time, shifting from frustration to a degree of understanding. Walter Koenig, the shifting sands of grievance and reconciliation. Walter Koenig, the actor behind Pavel Chekhov, shared similar feelings of animosity toward Shatner during their time together on Star Trek. Koenig, along with others, expressed frustration with Shatner's on-set dominance and his sometimes overbearing personality. Their relationship reached a boiling point during the production of Star Trek Generations in 1994, when Koenig, who had not always been included in the spotlight of the Star Trek films, grew disillusioned with Shatner's behavior. However, as the years passed, Koenig's stance softened, illustrating a key moment in the complex evolution of their relationship. In 2011, Koenig accepted Shatner's invitation to appear on Shatner's Raw Nerve, a talk show where Shatner hosted celebrity guests. During this appearance, Koenig revealed that the animosity he had once felt towards Shatner had dissipated. The two men discussed their past grievances, and Koenig acknowledged that with time, he had come to terms with the dynamics of their working relationship. Despite their previous tension, Koenig's willingness to engage with Shatner publicly highlighted a significant shift, one that reflected the passage of time and the power of reconciliation. James Doohan, The Long Road to Forgiveness. James Doohan, who portrayed the grizzled engineer Scotty, also experienced difficulties working with Shatner. Doohan's relationship with Shatner was perhaps the most complicated, given that Doohan's personal and professional life were often marked by resistance to Shatner's persona. The tensions between the two were so pronounced that Doohan declined to be interviewed for Shatner's 1993 memoir, Star Trek Memories, despite the fact that Shatner had sought him out for the book. However, much like Koenig, Doohan's feelings towards Shatner changed over time. In the early 2000s, when Doohan's health began to deteriorate, Shatner made several attempts to reconcile. These efforts culminated in a poignant moment in 2003, just a year before Doohan's death. At a Star Trek convention, Shatner and Doohan embraced, apologized, and expressed mutual admiration. This moment of reconciliation was captured by convention organizer Sky Conway, who emphasized that Shatner had made sincere efforts to mend their relationship before it was too late. It was a powerful reminder of the complexity of human relationships and the possibility of healing, even after decades of tension. The battle within. Shatner's health struggles. As if navigating the turbulent waters of strained relationships with his co-stars weren't enough, Shatner's personal life took another dark turn in the 1990s when he began suffering from tinnitus, a condition that causes persistent ringing, buzzing, or hissing in the ears. For Shatner, this condition was not only physically painful, but emotionally taxing, as it affected his ability to engage fully in his work and daily life. Shatner believes that his tinnitus was caused by an incident during the filming of Star Trek's 1967 episode Arena, when a pyrotechnic explosion left him exposed to a sudden and intense noise. The blast was part of a staged combat scene in which Shatner's Captain Kirk battled a Gorn, and the noise from the explosion was powerful enough to potentially cause lasting damage to his hearing. Over the years, the symptoms of tinnitus worsened, and the condition became a constant, ever-present part of Shatner's life. To manage his tinnitus, Shatner sought treatment through habituation therapy, a method that involved wearing an earpiece designed to emit low-level white noise. This noise was intended to help his brain adjust to the persistent ringing, thereby reducing its impact. Despite the challenges of living with a chronic condition, Shatner displayed remarkable resilience, choosing to publicly advocate for others suffering from tinnitus. He became a strong supporter of the American Tinnitus Association, helping to raise awareness about the condition and support research into potential treatments. The toll of aging. In addition to tinnitus, Shatner's health was also marked by the inevitable effects of aging. By 2020, at the age of 89, Shatner was candid about the physical toll that his body had taken over the years. Swollen joints, chronic aches, and the general discomfort of aging were now a part of his daily reality. As a means of managing his pain, Shatner turned to cannabidiol, CBD oil, a cannabis-derived substance known for its therapeutic properties. Shatner's willingness to experiment with alternative treatments reflected his ongoing commitment to managing his health in the face of the challenges that come with aging. Shatner's openness about his health struggles offered fans a poignant reminder that, despite his larger-than-life persona on screen, he too is vulnerable to the physical limitations that time imposes on everyone. Shatner's space journey, a poignant reflection on humanity's future. In 2021, at the remarkable age of 90, William Shatner embarked on a journey that would have once been seen as the pinnacle of human achievement. Aboard Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket, Shatner became the oldest person to travel into space. For many, this would have been a moment of exhilarating adventure, the realization of a lifelong dream to explore the cosmos. After all, Shatner's portrayal of Captain Kirk had inspired generations to dream of space travel and the boundless possibilities it offered. However, Shatner's experience in space was far from the jubilant exploration he had once portrayed on screen. Instead, the journey filled him with unexpected sadness and introspection. In a powerful essay for The Guardian, Shatner bared his soul, revealing that his trip to space did not evoke the feelings of awe and wonder that many anticipated. Rather than seeing Earth as a vibrant, ever-expanding cradle of life, Shatner was struck by its fragility. As he gazed out from space, he saw Earth as a tiny oasis of life, suspended in a vast, cold expanse of nothingness. The enormity of space only emphasized the delicate and fleeting nature of life on our planet. This profound sense of insignificance stirred in Shatner a deep existential reflection. The once bold space explorer found himself contemplating the future of humanity and the role Earth plays in our survival. His journey, which had once seemed like a triumphant step into the unknown, became an introspective moment that made him acutely aware of the looming threats facing our world. A shift in priorities, from space exploration to Earth's preservation. Shatner's space journey, while significant in the context of his career and legacy, marked a tragic shift in his perspective. No longer was space the answer to humanity's future. It became a symbol of the fragility and peril that now surrounds our existence. Shatner's reflections following his space trip led him to an urgent call for action. He turned his focus toward the real-world challenges threatening the planet, from climate change to biodiversity loss. He implored world leaders, particularly in the context of international summits such as COP15, to take bold action in addressing the environmental crises threatening Earth's future. In one particularly moving reflection, Shatner admitted regret over the role that Star Trek may have played in romanticizing space as humanity's future, acknowledging that we had neglected our responsibility to the planet that sustains us. He called for immediate action to halt the destruction of the environment, emphasizing that Earth is the only home we have. His newfound resolve was an impassioned plea to preserve the planet for future generations, a lasting legacy of advocacy and philanthropy. In the latter years of his life, William Shatner has remained active in advocating for a variety of causes, from environmental preservation to animal rights. His work with organizations such as the American Tinnitus Association, his support for wildlife protection, and his role in campaigns against dolphin exploitation underscore his commitment to using his fame for good. As the honorary captain of Star Trek The Cruise, he took on the responsibility of influencing ethical practices, such as persuading Norwegian cruise lines to cancel their swim with dolphins excursions. This was a direct nod to the principles of Star Trek's Prime Directive, which condemns the exploitation of other species. Through his philanthropy, Shatner has not only demonstrated his ongoing dedication to the causes he holds dear, but has also solidified his legacy as a man who has spent his life striving to make the world a better place. Whether in the context of charity, environmentalism, or animal rights, Shatner's actions reflect his deep conviction that humanity must do more to protect the planet and its inhabitants.